Coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome to Africa Focus, where we bring you news from across the continent right here on Switch TV Kenya. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. Start interacting with us on our social media platforms at Switch TV Kenya, to Joel Church M on Twitter and as well on Facebook, Switch TV Kenya and Joel Church. Send in an SMS via 22999 free of charge. But first, here are stories making headlines. The South African Auditor General releases his first report on corruption relating to COVID-19 relief funds. Zimbabwean High Court orders journalist and opposition politician to be freed on bail. 16-year-old in Nairobi is using her photography skills to sensitize women and children against COVID-19. Flooding in the Senegalese capital Dakar left at least 4 people dead and raised criticism among residents against the government's perceived lack of response. Parts of the country saw 3 months of rainfall in just 7 hours, and rescue workers say at least 4 people died.
The houses are flooded. There are families who have had to leave their homes to take refuge in the schools. So really, it's a very difficult situation that we are going through right now. This is a low-rent housing zone. We paid. Each family paid for its sanitation, but unfortunately, we don't have any piping. Since 2012, the state comes and makes promises, but unfortunately, we still do not have canalization. That's why the water can't drain. We have held demonstrations. We have done everything so that the state hears us, so that it comes and helps us. It's really hard.
His bedroom, his living room, the toilets, the kitchen, everything is a disaster. We voted for the president to help us, but look at this. The housing projects have not done their job.
Every year the water rises. Every year the water goes further. It's been almost 2 years that we've been living the same situation. It is difficult.
Elsewhere, the funeral of South African disabled teenager Nathaniel Julius took place in a Johannesburg suburb after he was allegedly shot dead by police on August 26. At least 2 police officers have been arrested for allegedly shooting the 16-year-old who was suffering with Down syndrome.
For he is our God. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I be afraid of?
I saw a little boy. They asked him, what do you want to be when you grow up? He says, all I want is to be alive. Serve our people. Nathaniel wanted to be served, but you shot him with a shotgun. Evil men in this community. We want law and order to return in the name of Jesus. I say we want law and order. We're asking the station commissioner to clean up that place with all the rotten apples. Serve us. Have compassion for us. Stop killing us. We are sick and tired of death all around us.
I want to say he might have not spoken a lot, but out of his quietness, he called the entire world to a standstill. Nathaniel, tonight, we want to salute you for uniting a rainbow nation.
Meanwhile, the death toll from a jihadist attack on a military convoy in northeast Nigeria has risen from 23 to 35, while 30 troops are still missing. Fighters linked with the so-called Islamic State group ambushed the convoy on Tuesday at Bulabulin village, about 40 kilometers from Maiduguri, which is the capital of Borno State.
23 soldiers were initially thought to have been killed on Tuesday's attack, and many were listed as missing. But security sources have confirmed more bodies had now been found in a nearby bush. The troops were returning from patrol and clearance operation against the insurgents when they came under attack. The Nigerian military confirmed the ambush on Wednesday, but insisted only 2 soldiers were killed and 4 wounded. 17 insurgents were killed in the subsequent fighting. Nigeria's army has repeatedly claimed that the insurgency has been largely defeated and frequently underplays any losses. In the attack, Islamist fighters killed 23 Nigerian soldiers in an ambush on a key road in the Restrieve northeast of the country. The Nigerian military confirmed the ambush but said in a statement that only 2 soldiers were killed and 4 wounded. The decade-long conflict in northeast Nigeria has killed 36,000 people and forced around 2 million from their homes. Nekundi Kelvin, Africa Focus.
On to other news. The South African Auditor General released his first report on corruption relating to COVID-19 relief funds. Kim Makwetu's finding relating to billions worth of rand and a slew of allegations of mismanagement and inflated PPEs tenders. Employment and Labour Minister Thulas Nexi also gave details of corruption relating to the country's unemployment fund.
So this was a multidisciplinary team effort that did not just rely on somebody delivering it. An opportunity for fraudulent behavior arises when the disciplines of internal control have been weakened. In this case, that's what we have observed. That when there were fewer people who are able to monitor and supervise transactions, others who know best take the opportunity.
We have now received the Aegis audit report, which points to numerous gaps, risks, and inadequate controls and verification processes. This has resulted in illegal payments, amongst others, to recipients of the state grants, students receiving NSFAS payments, public servants, and even UIF employees, and even inmates, deceased persons, and minors. There is also evidence of overpayments and underpayments, as well as inflated claims. I assure you that I will not rest until every payment is accounted for and every wrongdoer is made to account. They can run, but they will not hide. Thank you.
After months of closure, the Lagos Murtala Mohammed International Airport finally reopened, and the first commercial flight to land is a Middle East flight coming from Lebanon, and passengers were welcomed by new measures to try to curb the spread of COVID-19 in Nigeria.
So we travel a lot. Like in a year, we travel like 6 times. So we go to different places, we go on vacation to different places, and we go to our country. We don't live in our country. Our school is here in Nigeria. So yes, we were looking forward for the airports to open. We were like so happy when we heard it.
Waiting, and every week they said maybe next week, and we have the flights always, changing flights. It costs a lot of money, changing booking, and all of this one, yes, of course. We had stress of that.
I'm extremely joyous because after the whole pandemic, we never knew it was going to be this long, and it was like all hope was lost. At a stage, nothing was happening, but after a lot of dates being said and postponed, we are finally here today. We put in so much in place that the passenger will feel safe and secure coming through the airport.
A time to take a breather. Stay with us here on Africa Focus. Still to come. We tell you how the annual Raider Dance celebration happened amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Welcome back to Africa Focus. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. Moving on, they say talent without skill amounts to nothing. But for children of Mathare Foundation, acquiring of skills is a dream come true. As Vicky Mugambi reports, a 16-year-old in Mathare here in Nairobi is using her photography skills to sensitize women and children against COVID-19. Take a look.
Monday afternoon in Mathare, we meet Eric Omwanda Nehemiah, the man behind Children's Skills Development in Mathare Slum. Mathare Foundation is a community-based organization teaching children photography, music, football, and life skills to avert them from engaging in criminal activities and substance abuse that is rampant in the area.
The slum is a place where there's only crime. There's issues of alcoholism and drug and substance abuse. But actually there's a lot of talent that if it is well taken care of, they can actually bring a lot of positive change in the community.
Through this foundation, Whitney Kageha, a 16-year-old girl, was able to sharpen her photography skills and is now using those skills to educate members of the public in Mathare against COVID-19 pandemic.
And I'm in Form 2. I'm 16 years old. And I end up in Mathare Foundation when I was young, starting with photography. That is what motivated me until who I am right now. The moment I take that camera, what I want to take from that, a picture that I want to take, that's what will inspire me and what will inspire my whole life. Just a click of that photo.
Kageha even won the Women COVID-19 Photography Competition in May 2020.
An award in May 19th. I was shocked and I was happy to hear that I was a winner because it was my first and it was like a dream.
However, Kageha is not alone. Joseph Othiambo, a 20-year-old man, is already a teacher here. He is giving back to the community through the best way he could. Joseph says sharing the knowledge he gained with the rest of the community gives him the satisfaction to be of help to those who are in need.
With Mathare Foundation, I managed to go to secondary school, university too, and now I'm back giving out in photography and also part of performing arts.
A picture is worth 1,000 words, and like the picture behind me of rusting iron sheets, poverty is prevalent here in Mathare slums, and people like Eric, Nehemiah, Omwanda have chosen to become a beacon of hope through photography and footballing for the children of Mathare slums. Vicky Mugambi, Switch TV.
Since the onset of COVID-19, learning was paralyzed in almost all parts of the world. However, the Ministry of Education here in Kenya introduced virtual learning, which so far it has not been effective. Skills in technical institutions have been tricky to be taught. Fatima Ngwena with the report.
With the ever-rising cases of the unrelenting pandemic that is experienced across the world, the fate of resuming of learning institutions is still unknown, even though the Cabinet Secretary of Education, Professor George Magoha, said schools will resume in November. The Ministry of Education launched virtual learning across all education levels, but the idea has not been effective due to majority of the people not being able to access the e-learning platforms. According to Lewis Brown Madenge, a student at the Nyeri National Polytechnic and a student leader, says it is tricky for the skills in technical institutions to be taught virtually.
Government initiated the e-learning, where, especially now to the TVET institution where I am a student, we have challenges, very many challenges. First, because we are technical students, and now giving the skills through the virtual learning is kind of tricky because you have to use your hands. Our courses are majorly fieldwork and you're using your hands. So like getting the training from the lecturers through the virtual learning, it's quite difficult.
Madenge says they have been using class WhatsApp groups as class representatives to teach their classmates after they have been taught by their lecturers virtually.
The other challenge that protects that comes in the e-learning is now there are students whom were not able to have hustles, they were not privileged to have where they could start their own businesses. So you'll find the data, getting connected to internet is kind of an issue, because you have to have data bundles.
Just like other students who have been left with no choice but to look for side hustles to keep them busy during this pandemic, Lawis Madenge has turned to this little business to make ends meet.
There are parents who got retrenched, so we were forced to start hustles, and that's why I thought of having a place where I would sell soap, meat, and during lunch times, because of the buildings that are here, I took the advantage of the people who were the constructors. So most of during lunch, they come here for their lunch.
Students in technical institutions now want the national government to consider them and put in measures to make the virtual learning process successful, and that schools should not resume earlier than January next year, since parents need enough time to prepare themselves with school fees. Fatma Ngwena, Switch TV.
Crossing borders now. Coronavirus lockdown rules obligate Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini to host the annual Reed Dance celebration online for the first time in more than 35 years, inviting only 30 maidens to his Enyokeni Royal Palace, which usually attracts 10,000s of virgins. Every September, virgin young women descend to the traditional royal residence in Nongoma, KwaZulu Natal, for the real dance. The traditional leader throws his way behind South African women who were besieged by the horrific scourge of gender-based violence.
Coronavirus lockdown rules forced Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini on Saturday to host a scaled-down version of the annual Reed Dance celebration. Every September, tens of thousands of bare-breasted young women descend on the traditional royal residence in Nongoma, KwaZulu Natal, for the Reed Dance.
And I take my hat to public servants like teachers, as I've just said, the police and the army, who are not only at the coal face of service delivery, but also care for the nation and its offsprings under very trying circumstances.
Adorned in colorful beads, they celebrate their virginity by dancing before the Zulu King, holding long reeds, which they later present to him.
I also want to raise something that puts me to shame as the king femicide that has taken place in Mtwalume. Among the women who were killed are young girls like Nosipo Kumete, who was only 16 years old, Akona and Baja Duma, both of whom were only 25 years old.
The ancient cultural rite of passage to womanhood was revived officially by the Zulu King in 1984. But on Saturday, the ceremony, known for promoting sexual abstinence by young women to reduce HIV transmission, was held with only 30 participants, with others forced to watch it on social media.
I offer sincerest condolences to the bereaved families, but we must not take this as a norm, because no nation that allows the killing of women deserves respect.
More than 120,000 victims rang the national helpline for abused women and children in the first 3 weeks after the lockdown started on March 27th, double the usual number of calls. In his keynote address, the traditional leader threw his support behind South African women who were affected.
I want women to rest assured that I am in their corner. I commit myself to your safety for as long as I live. All that women destroys, the Zulu Kingdom, South Africa, and Africa at large. This is a war that I and all who identify themselves as Zulus embrace.
The number of victims has surged since the lockdown instituted by President Cyril Ramaphosa in March. South Africa has so far registered more than 635,000 coronavirus infections and 14,678 deaths. Nyakundi Calvin, Africa Focus.
That's all here on Africa Focus today, but keep the conversation going on our social media platforms, Switch TV Kenya, at Joel Chacha M on Twitter, and as well on Facebook, Switch TV Kenya. My name is Joel Chacha, and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. Until next time, do have yourself a great day.